All right, this is a continuation of episode 1 in the beginning. So when I first recorded that, I didn't know. There was cutoff on this thing at 30 minutes. And there is when you're recording this way. And we are recording this way today. So this is a continuation of In the Beginning, part 2 of episode 1. and uh, so I apologize. First of all, sincere apologies for that. Welcome to the second part of part 1, The Change with Him, Real, Raw, and Redeemed. I don't know exactly where that left off because it cut off, but was talking about lots of things that I felt like were missing in my life when I was coming through the emotionally abusive relationship, the relationship with narcissist, trying to figure out my life and make it better, make it different, create and experience true change because I desperately needed it. I was at a place where I wanted my life to end. Something had to give. And I realized, looking at the history of my past, I was involved in it all. I was the common denominator. And I got to this place and this point in life where I realized, shit, it's me. I'm the broken one. Something's wrong with me. And I didn't realize or know that then, but that was a limiting and negative belief, a belief that I was repeating over and over and over and over and over and over in my mind so often, so long, in such a strong and powerful way that it became a belief, an unconscious belief. It became the form of my identity. And in that, and trying to heal and figure this out, I was led down the spiritual path, down the path of manifestations and affirmations and mantras, and really how to turn your life around using those things. And at this point in my life, I don't believe they're complete garbage, but without the unconscious beliefs to back and support them, they are. They feel like you're lying to yourself. And that was part of the problem. And what I realized in becoming the type of person that works with people in the way that I do, that our words have power. Our words have the ability to transform our lives. They have the ability to create form and matter. And we dive into this so much more deeply in my programs and in the one-to-one work that I do with people. But if that was the belief that I was broken, I was messed up, it was always going to be this way, that became my identity, became the form, it became the lens through which I lived my life through. I realized I needed to turn around, I needed to change. And I realized that in many, many ways when I was brought to my knees, not physically, but emotionally, mentally, energetically, spiritually, and I felt like I couldn't go on any longer. I don't think I shared this in the first part of my of part 1 of this, but there was that night that I call the darkest night, and it was I shared in the beginning of my journal, 3 little words, the prayer journal. It's available on Amazon if you want to get it. It's amazing. It was another God breathed thing, God inspired thing. I never wanted to be an author, I never wanted to write a book. And I went on to write that one and another one. And they're both available on Amazon. Um, there were many, many times after living through narcissistic abuse that I couldn't take it. I couldn't handle it anymore. That I didn't want to take it. I didn't want to handle it anymore. Um, the second narcissist had a lot of weapons around the house, lots of them. Ex military, lots of guns, locked, loaded, ready to go around the house. And I began to dream about that day and what it would feel like. I began to idolize suicide. It just felt like the one thing that would bring the peace that I sought, the peace that I desired, the one thing that would bring an end to it all. And it quite literally would have. And thank God there was another experience in my life. I was in high school and I had that same feeling. I didn't want to live anymore. I wanted it all to end. I wanted all the pain to go away. What I didn't realize is that I wanted the feeling to change. I wanted the thoughts and the beliefs that I had about myself to change. But I thought the only way through change was to end the pain. And that was the surefire, pun intended, way to end the pain. Thank God I was too scared because I had heard about a story of a boy in high school, but I was in high school. I remember one night vividly, I took a bunch of pills, like random pills. They were probably just a bunch of allergy pills because I didn't do much. But I heard about that. I was like, just take a bunch of pills and then you just never wake up. And I'm like, that sounds pretty sweet. I want to not wake up. So I tried it, and I remember my stepdad coming downstairs, and I was in the bathroom. I had been bawling my eyes out, just crying, ugly crying. When I ugly cry, my eyes look like lips. They get so big and so pink and so swollen. So my eyes look like lips at that point. I had already swallowed all the pills, and my stepdad comes downstairs, and the bathroom door is shut and locked, but the light's on. Everything else is dark in the house, and he knocks on the door, and he's like, "Hey." And I'm like, "Oh, shit. Hey." And he was like, "You all right?" And I was like, "Yeah. Yeah, just going to the bathroom thinking, "Oh, shit, like, I might die." Like, he might hopefully, I mean, that was a goal anyway, moments before, like, be sliding my dead body out of here. And the words he said, I know were from God. I didn't know them then, but I know them now. And he said, "All right, just making sure you're still alive." And in that moment, I was like, "Oh my God, I can't go out like this." And so fast forward, I don't know, 10 years, a decade, I'm living with this narcissist and there are weapons everywhere and they're available. And it was like they began to speak to me like, "I am the one that will provide you peace. This is the way out. The way out is through me." And I hope you recognize and realize I am the one that will provide you peace. The way out is through me. Those were Jesus's words. And what I've come to learn about the enemy is that the enemy uses God's words. The enemy will take God's words and twist them just ever so slightly to get you to doubt. He will take the same words, but just twist them a little bit to get you to think that that's the way. And the way, obviously, is not to off yourself or end yourself. That's not God's way. It's not His will for you. That's the way the enemy works, and that's what the enemy will do. The enemy will use the words, but change the feeling or change the outcome and use the feeling. The feeling I wanted was peace. The feeling I wanted was a way out. God, Jesus, brings that peace and provides that way out. But the enemy in that moment was using something like a weapon, like a loaded weapon, to bring me to it. And it was like, it was glorious. It was beautiful. I was like, that's the thing. Thank God I feared because I had the story in the back of my head of a boy whose brother in high school tried that. Like, actually stuck his head over a trash can and tried to, did pull the trigger, and it didn't go as planned, and he lived through it. And so I would remember taking those weapons and driving around in my car with them in the front seat and just looking at him and being like, "No, I got this." And it was like, whoa, 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 what if it like ricochets off your skull and you live? Really? You want to be that girl? Like, these were the voices in my head and the stories in my head. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be that girl. I don't want to live through that. It's horrible. No. So I thankfully didn't. But I did take the weapon out and I did go find a tree and I shot the tree. And I thought, if I can shoot right through the middle of this tree, then I'll do it. Thank God I'm a horrible shot. I aimed for the tree and it the bullet did exactly what I imagined it did in that little boy in his skull when he tried it, the little boy in high school. It slid off to the side, it grazed the side, and I thought, I can't do this. I can't go out like this. Like, there's got to be a different way, but there was no other way I really wanted to think of. There was one time in high school when I got my first car, I must have been like 17. I did try the card trick in the garage. Didn't work. Again, got afraid like, oh, my parents are going to come and find me. I don't want that to happen. It was taking too long. I did try it. It was taking too long. I was like, this is weird. I'm not going to do this. I don't want them to find me like this. All of those were interventions of God saying, that's not the way. I know you want peace. I know you want out of this. I am the way, but I didn't believe in him then. I didn't have a relationship with him then. And when I finally picked up and opened my Bible and began to like see what this whole God thing was all about, I really wanted a way out. I wanted to manifest a better life. I wanted to have a better life. I wanted to be able to use the affirmations that I saw everyone else on social media was using, like, I am abundant. I am loved. I am rich. I am wealthy. Look at me. I am all those things. And I post pictures of all those things. And I wanted that. And I was like, okay, let's see what this manifestation thing is all about. I think I mentioned this in the beginning of the first episode. I opened my Bible because I was like, okay, well, how do I manifest this? How do I get what I want, what I really, really want? And how do I get it now? And I wanted it all now, but what I really wanted was peace and a way out. And I wanted to prove that the narcissist was bad and wrong. And so as I'm reading my Bible, I'm highlighting and underlining things like stories that say, today people who reject the knowledge of God think of themselves as enlightened. And I'm like, yeah, the narcissist thinks of himself as enlightened. I was like, this is all about the narcissist. The Bible talks about the narcissist. This is great. He thinks about himself as God, and therefore he rejects the real God. And so he thinks of himself as enlightened. He is not enlightened. Like, but I want to be enlightened. Oh my gosh, what does that say about me? What does that mean about me? And there's this, it says, their ignorance is not lack of general education. Some are brilliant in their own way, and I understand enough about emotional abusers that they think that they're gods. They act like they're gods, and they are. They're brilliant in their own way. It says, but such brilliance is all wasted and futile in the end when combined with hardness of the heart. And I realized that for a narcissist or someone to treat another human that way, their hearts are hardened. And then this voice and this experience came over me and was like, Sarah, your heart is hardened also. Yeah. And I thought, shit, I'm no better than them. I need help too. I want peace too. I want a way out. And when you understand anything about narcissistic abuse, we're all the same. That's why oftentimes we feel like we're no better than the narcissist, because the truth is we were living a wasted, futile life because of the hardness of our heart. Because hardness of the heart, in my experience and perspective, is it's really living with the absence of God in your life. So he's the one that keeps your heart pumping, alive, vital, flowing. He's the one that brings everything you want. Peace, the way out. And when you have him in your life, you've got a soft, healthy, vibrant, open heart. You don't have a hardened heart. But I would read the Bible and underline things like this. And then this is in Ephesians 4:22, put off your old self. I'm like, yeah, he needs to put off him old self. He needs to put it off. And then I thought, well, what does that mean? Maybe I need to put off my old self. People need inner transformation, because there was a word in bold, and the word in bold was corrupt. And I thought, yeah, he's so corrupt. You don't know all the corrupt things that he's done to me and all the corrupt things he's done. And he's just so evil and he's so vile and he's definitely corrupt. And I was like, amen, Bible, you preach against the narcissist. But then the word corrupt and bold stood out to me. And I thought, wait a minute. And then I continued reading. People need inner transformation because their hearts are deceitful above all things and desperately sick. There I was. thinking I was all righteous and high and mighty and reading the Bible to try and like prove that the narcissist is as evil as I wanted them to be proved to be. And I realized it was proving something about me that I needed in a transformation. And I had already experienced it in so many ways. Using hypnotherapy and using rapid transformational therapy, I had already experienced so much deep, powerful inner transformation. But that little missing component, that tiny little missing piece that was the most important foundational piece, was the piece that I experienced inviting Jesus to come into my heart and into my life, to soften my heart. And they say, like, especially if you read the Bible about Gentiles and who are the people that, like the high and mighty, the righteous, the priests, and all that? The Pharisees. Thank you, mind. The Pharisees. They were the ones that were all righteous and high and mighty and like pissed off at Jesus because he was hanging out with prostitutes. He was hanging out with tax collectors. He was hanging out with sinners. And I realized, whoa, in many ways, I am a prostitute. I am a sinner. Not a tax collector, but I definitely desired money and was like, I wouldn't turn it down if I got it or had the opportunity to take it. And in many ways in my past, I had taken it, and I had taken it not for the good of others and not in a very moral way. But I realized in that Jesus comes to save the sick. They say that it's not the healthy that need a doctor, it's the sick. And in many, many ways, I realized I was sick. I was so pissed. I'm like, the narcissist is so sick. This is what they did. And can you believe this? And I wanted justification for the victimization. I'm like, that's sick. And I realized this whole flip around, this whole turnaround, that is sick. And in that realized, oh my gosh, I am no better than the narcissist. And here I was like diving into the Bible to try and better my life. And I'm staring at this chapter that says the new life in Ephesians. What is this? Chapter 4, the new life. And none of this made sense until it made sense. You must no longer walk as the Gentiles do, in the futility of their minds. Many of the words as I was reading the Bible, I'm like, what does that mean? And I had to stop and I had to Google and I had to look up the definition of futility of their minds. And I realized, wow, here I was trying to figure out this next missing piece. And it wasn't exactly manifestation. It wasn't so much spirituality, even though that felt really good and it led me down this path to coming home. I was futile in my mind. They are darkened in their understanding, alienated from the life of God because of their ignorance that is in them, due to the hardness of their hearts. They have become callous. They have given themselves up to sensuality, greedy, and practice of every kind of impurity. So, you guys, I would read the Bible and I was like, yes, see, the Bible talks about narcissists. They're callous. They've given themselves up to sensuality. They're greedy to every kind of impurity. They're so greedy. They're so impure. And I was like, yes, 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 yes. The Bible talks about it. And then I realized, hello, this applies to all. This applies to you too. And then I realized this applies to me too. In so many ways. Even though I had done so much transformational work, so much healing, I was still callous. I still was living with a hardened heart. I still had this futility of my mind. I was darkened in my understanding. And before I really let Jesus in, I was alienated from the life of God because of the ignorance that was in me, because thinking I could do it on my own and that it was just, I needed to be more spiritual. I needed to get better at manifesting. I needed to really just figure this whole thing out. But what I needed to figure out was that I needed to let Jesus in to soften my heart and to experience his forgiveness. And through experiencing his forgiveness, I've been able to forgive the narcissist and live in such a different way, live with peace in my heart, in my mind, in my life, in my body. And it feels so good. I would read things about the devil, and I was like, ew, the narcissist is the devil. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths. Okay, well, there was a lot of corrupting talk coming out of his mouth, but when I looked at that as a mirror, I saw the corrupting talk coming out of my own mouth and how I was also being no better than the narcissist, and realized, wow, wow, I need God also. I would read things like, let all bitterness and wrath and anger, clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice. And I was like, gosh, he really needs to read the Bible. It says in the Bible, be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another as God in Christ forgave you. And I was like, yeah, he really needs to be kind to me. He needs to be tenderhearted to me, because the things that he's doing are just evil and vile and corrupt. And I was like, this is talking to you too. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And then I would try to use things to work only for my good, but against his good. Things like take no part in the unfruitful works of the darkness, but instead expose them. And I was like, yes, I'm going to expose the evil narcissist in court. That's what I'm going to do. Because when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible. And I was like, I'm going to expose the truth in the court. And I had an opportunity to, and I did. And it went really well. I won. It's a better outcome for all of us because the truth was exposed. And they say the truth is what sets you free. But in the beginning of my journey, I was using words like this to just try and like get God on my side and off the narcissist side. And then I was mad at God as well. I'm like, why does it seem like nothing bad is happening to him? And why does it seem like he's able to just go on living his life the way that he lives it and not have to pay? And thank God I've read the entire Bible, because, oh boy, Judgment Day is coming. And I may not see it in my lifetime, and that's okay. I don't need to have peace within me. I know that God sees and knows all and is above all. He is the light. And with him in our lives, everything that we need to see becomes visible. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness. I used to read that and just be so focused on the narcissist and how he was taking part in so much darkness, and realizing, wow, Sarah, you are too. With reading the Bible through this lens, you're taking part in the very same thing. And everything turned around. Everything turned around when I let love in, when I let God in. In Ephesians 5, the chapter is titled Walk in Love. And I realized that I need to start walking in love. And in order to walk in love, I need to be in love. I need to be in relationship with God. God is love. It's super simple, super easy. God is love. And I would read that and I'd see it. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. But that's what it means. When I would underline things like the definition, people are often very careless with their speech, aka slander, even though the tongue can ignite a forest of fire of harm to others. I was like, yes, and that's James 3:5-6. Yes, I would say, oh my gosh, the narcissist used to boast about being a surgeon with his words. And they hurt. The sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's complete bullshit. His words hurt me. They cut through to me. And they did just that. The tongue can ignite a forest of fire of harm to others. And I would think, oh my gosh, I feel so justified. He ignited a forest of harm within me that seems like it will never stop burning. And I realized God had the water to put that fire out, and God provided the water to put that fire out that he started. And the fire was within me. That's what unforgiveness does, is it burns and destroys you. It doesn't burn and destroy them. So everything changed in my relationship with myself and with the narcissist when I really let Jesus and God into my life. And I always say this is 3 and 1, 1 and 3. It's multiplication. It's not addition. I got that from my pastor. I love that he says that. So yes, that is it. that is it for the second part of the first episode. I love you guys, and I cannot wait to explore so many incredible, beautiful topics with you about life, about every area of life, about every topic of life. I just love it. And if you feel like you're missing anything in your life, invite your creator into it. Invite Jesus, invite God with a bod, and invite God into your life. He will change everything from bad and evil to good. I promise you. He did it for me. He will do it for you. I'm no more special. I'm no more different than you are. We all need him. In Jesus' name, amen.